It's just not that deep, is it? It's just not that deep, is it? But it's Mercedes, so of course it is. I keep telling y'all, man, if this happened at any other team, it'd have already been resolved before the checkered flag waved. But it's Mercs, and everyone that reps Mercs is dramatic. So that's why we have videos of them apologizing. That's why we have all of this fanfare. But it's a talking point, and I am a content creator, so I guess I have no choice. So let's just go over it, shall we? So what people need to understand, is that all of this crash that happened, what really caused all of this was the 18 lap rule that was enforced the morning of the race. Well, not really the morning of the race, but leading up to the race, the same day, right? So they made a mandatory rule that you can't go more than 18 laps on any tire, and just like that, it made this one of the most unique Formula One races we've probably ever seen. Maybe not literally on track, but based on the rules, right? And I think because of that rule, it forced drivers to start on tires that they wouldn't normally do, i.e. Hamilton, who didn't really have that many fresh sets of mediums or hards, so he had no choice but to start on his softs. And he was P3 on the grid, which is the cleaner side of the track, so he was naturally in a position to make gains. Verstappen and Russell were ahead of him on mediums, which we know they don't have the bite, they don't have the same grip as the soft tire. So based off of the rule and it pseudo forcing Hamilton to start on softs, it unintentionally put him in a position where he would have probably the best first stint of anybody, right? And I even said in a Twitter space before the race that my biggest fear was that somebody would start on softs and get understeered into by a guy on struggling cold mediums. Anyways, we fast forward to the race. The lights go out. Hamilton gets... I thought he was going to get a better start than he did, but it was still good by virtue of the fact that he was on softs. And then as we approach turn 1, Russell pulls out of Max's slipstream, because if he stays behind Max, the outside is the preferred line. So if he stays behind Max and follows him into turn 1, he's not just going to lose third. He's not going to just lose second to Hamilton. He's probably going to lose fourth, maybe even fifth, because there's another turn coming up. He'd be on the outside of the next one too. So it could have been spooky for him. So he pulls out of Max's slipstream, tries to go around Max's outside. Whole time this is happening, Lewis on his softs sees this happen and sends it 3 wide. Now, the reason it's universally decided, and when I say universally decided, I'm talking about people that, aren't deluded, including Hamilton himself. The reason it is Hamilton's fault is quite obvious. He saw people in front of him going too wide, and he still made the send. And not only did he make the send, but he turned in quite aggressively for a guy that was on the outside and knew that there was no space on the inside, right? People were saying George should have backed off, but based on when Lewis made the send, even if he did, the crash would have still happened. As a matter of fact, if George lifted off, you'd have probably been better off for it. He probably wouldn't have spun, but you can't, the thing is, these things happen so fast, so, but at the same time, I'm not really too mad at what Lewis, I don't think what Lewis did was particularly dumb. It wasn't really boneheaded, it was just over eager. Yeah, he was on the softs. He wasn't ahead going into turn 1 like I guess he hoped he would have by virtue of being on the softs. So he tried to make it up going into the braking zone, and he somewhat did, and he probably would have if he didn't turn in as hard as he did. But he did turn in as hard as he did. Clipped Russell's left front rather. So hard in fact that he lost his right rear tire. Into the gravel he went. DNF, no points for Lewis. And it's pretty much gonna delay his charge at P2 in the championship, which is insane to even think about. But now comes the rumor, or not even rumor, I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed now, that Mercs did have a discussion pre-race saying, hey, Lewis is gonna be on the softs, maybe, don't fight him too hard. What people need to understand is that George wasn't fighting Lewis per se. He was fighting Max. He didn't pull out. He didn't go left to block Lewis. He went left to attempt a move on Verstappen. And my thing is, if it was a case where Russell made it 3 wide as opposed to Hamilton making it 3 wide, I would completely understand the call for Russell's head. But he didn't. Hamilton knew 2 people in front of him were 2 wide and he made it 3 wide willingly and suffered the consequences. What makes his move even weirder is the fact that the day before in the sprint, he saw people in front of him go 3 wide. All 3 of them crashed and he had a front row seat to that. And despite having a front row seat to that, still did what he did. And for the most part, suffered the same consequences those guys suffered. So, I don't know. Here's the thing though, if you want to get mad at Russell for disobeying whatever team order was discussed, that's one thing. You can still be mad at George, but that doesn't change the fact that the crash was still Lewis's fault. Especially the fact that he was on softs. He did not necessarily need to make that move on lap 1 specifically. If it wasn't possible going into turn 1, he could have just yielded. He would have still been quicker. He's on the softs. There were other opportunities, not only on that lap, but on the next 2, for him to have gotten past Russell easy, because I'm sure Russell wouldn't have held him up if it was a clean start. Hamilton was 3rd, you know? Russell would have probably let him through on the backstretch for all we know. And then he could have attacked Max, yeah? So, I don't know, man. But that's just the over-eagerness of the racing driver, you know? You see a move, it's that Senna quote. You see a gap, you go for it. He saw it, he went for it. It just didn't work out. Yeah, I don't think it was just over eagerness. I wouldn't even call it dumb, and that's why I don't think he should have gotten a penalty, because not only was it his fault, yeah, but he was the only real person to suffer from it. It's not like he kind of ruined Russell's race, but it wasn't. He didn't take him out or anything. So I don't know. It wasn't that serious. So I'm not mad that there's no penalty. There shouldn't be a penalty. It's just a racing incident. But again, what's even funnier about this is just the outrage. And of course there's gonna be outrage. Hamilton has a diehard fan base, and by virtue of the fact that he has a diehard fan base, Mercedes also has a diehard fan base. There's still people to this day that blame Russell. I literally don't know how. Even if he disobeyed team orders, that doesn't change the fact that the crash was literally Hamilton's fault. People said he should have yielded. Even if he yielded, the crash would have still happened by virtue of where he was. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. There's nothing he could have done to avoid that. The crash happened because Hamilton made it 3 wide. Now we have videos of them apologizing, hugging, and all of this foolish. It's just like, this. You wouldn't do this if you didn't know your fan base, you know? They posted that because they know Hamilton fans are rabid, and they wanted to put something out there to probably ease the abuse that was heading for their comment section because of the crash, right? But it didn't work. People are still mad. People still want Russell dead. And I don't know, man. It's just, to me, it's just not that deep. And to me, it's only this. All of this stuff is only deep because it's Mercedes. This happened at any other team. Maybe not Ferrari. I think if this happened at Ferrari, they'd have probably lost their minds too. Maybe even Red Bull. If this happened at like a Haas, an Alfa Romeo, who'd care? No one would care. Would there be any PR apology? Maybe. It wouldn't be on this scale. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't know, man. What we witnessed was a racing incident that could have happened to any 2 drivers, but it just coincidentally happened to 2 teammates, and that's why everybody has lost their mind. I don't think it's that deep. And all the people saying it was inevitable, was it really? It was lap 1. I mean, this by no means is a Brazil 2019 with the 2 Ferraris, or a Spain 2016 with the 2 Mercs. This is nowhere close to that, yeah? Those 2 incidents were damn near premeditated, not literally, but in proper context. But this, it's just typical lap 1 shenanigans, man. I don't think this is gonna affect their relationship in the future. Yeah, Lewis called out George in the moment, but that was in the moment. Once he saw the replay, he was like, okay, it's my fault. Once George saw the replay, he was like, okay, there's nothing I could have done. Both of them have acknowledged it. The only reason this is still being talked about is because of the rabid fans. Yeah? The same people that said Magnussen was at fault for the Spain 22 crash with Hamilton, even though same scenario, he had softs, he tried to go around the outside and made contact with the guy on the inside. That was Kevin's fault, but people are telling me that this isn't Lewis's. Yeah? Then they try to compare it to Silverstone 21. Like, no, it's not the same either. It's not the same either. You can't compare a 3-wide situation to a 2-wide situation. Especially one going into Cops compared to Qatar. Like, it's two different corners, man. I don't know. It's not deep. Do Mercedes still have the best lineup on the grid? Yes. The only problem is, out of the 2 drivers they have, it's as if only one decides to be serious on a given weekend. When Hamilton's cooking, Russell is just doing nothing. And vice versa. When Russell is cooking, Hamilton takes days off. When he crashed into Piastri that one time, he crashed into Perez in Spa, and he's had this crash right here. Russell, we've already seen the worst of Russell. Crashed for no reason in Canada. Crashed. They had to crash in. It's been kind of crazy. But again, man, the midfield, you know, the midfield will expose drivers. People are gonna call Hamilton a crashaholic now. They're gonna question his wheel to wheel. But I'm telling you, like, crashes and hitting people and being in incidents like this are a direct product of being in the midfield and having more people around you. Yeah? By virtue of being in more incidents doesn't necessarily mean that you yourself are the cause of them, even though in my opinion he has been the cause of a couple in recent times. Yeah? But that doesn't mean he's a reckless driver or anything. I think the move he made in Qatar, you could deem it reckless, but I don't really see it really as reckless. It's just more over eager. I kind of get why he thought it would work, but you know, when you have them split-second decisions, there's not much you can do. Yeah, there's not much. You don't have that much time to think. Yeah, but yeah, man, it's not deep. Mercedes will be fine. The 2 drivers will be fine, right? The only people you need to keep in your thoughts and prayers are the fans, because in typical fan fashion, they're gonna make more of a spectacle of this than is actually there, and that's a shame. But that's sports at the end of the day. So, yeah, man. It's not that deep. That's why I put it in the thumbnail. It's not that deep. Mercs will be fined. Fine. F-I-N-E. Intern out.